Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back.
All right, all you positive heads, welcome. Welcome one and all. I am super grateful you've joined me on this magical today. Today, I thought we would talk about relationships. Because I don't think I see a single client who doesn't ask about their relationships, about maybe their love relationship, about their relationship with their children, with their coworkers, with their friends. Whatever it may be, relationships in our lives are incredibly important. And of course they are, because relationships are how we live, how we sustain, how we learn. If you notice, we don't really learn unless we have relationships. If you think about if you lived in the woods all by yourself, alone, without any others, you didn't have any relation with others, how much would you learn? Well, you would learn to survive. That's for sure. You would learn how to survive. But in terms of our relation with others, how much more would we learn? Not much, because there wouldn't be very many others around. And our relationship to others is how we grow, how we learn these higher evolved lessons, if you want to call them higher evolved lessons, but higher vibrational lessons. They are more higher evolved lessons. The more we evolve, the higher we go. And survival is just the beginning. And if we want to learn about self-awareness, yes, we can do that on our own. But oftentimes, the easier way, or the more conducive way, the way we can get there a little faster, is with our relationships with others, because others are our mirror. Every single one of our close relationships, especially our family, and then our close, intimate relationships, these are all our greatest teachers. We have specifically chosen these people because we want to learn a certain thing. And so we want these relationships because it's going to set up a certain environment in order for us to learn a beautiful lesson. And hopefully we are able to learn this lesson so that we can grow and evolve, and then move on to learn the next lesson with another beautiful soul who has volunteered to be in our lives to play a role so that we can learn this lesson. And what's really great is we volunteer to play roles in other lives as well. Now, one of the biggest, most important relationships for most of us is our love life, our significant other. This is a question that can plague so many, especially when we don't have a significant other. Meaning there's a yearning to have a significant other. And so oftentimes we question, when is this person coming into my life? When is my soulmate arriving? Now, speaking of soulmates, the beauty of that is we have many. We have many soulmates, all of these beautiful connections, all of these intimate relationships that we have in our lives. They are soulmates because we made these soul contracts. So how are we really defining a soulmate? Well, oftentimes it's that person where that energy is so incredibly intense and you feel it so strongly. You know that you've known this person before, that this isn't the first time that you've met. You're just re-meeting each other again. And this bond feels so incredibly strong that oftentimes we can confuse it as a person that we are supposed to be with forever. Oftentimes, we have a soulmate that comes into our lives for just a short period of time. Maybe this soulmate is coming in just to father children, to mother children, to be a parent to a child. Maybe we had to have these two exact parents because these children wanted these two parents. And so they were just together for a time to create these children with this makeup so that these children would have this environment to learn from. Now, before we come in, we know that there's all these possibilities and probabilities within these situations that we choose. And we see the one that's most likely to work out, but we also know there's a whole lot of free will and there's a whole lot of potential possibilities. And so as spirits, we do our best to pick our parents so we can learn the lessons that we need to learn. And I keep bringing this thing up with the parents because when we look at our relationships with a significant other, it is very much in relation to the lesson, the overall lesson that we came here to learn. Because if we did not learn it with our parents, if we did not learn it with our siblings, we will continue to move on and learn it in our significant relationships, especially our significant other relationships. For example, how often, as a woman, maybe you're a woman listening, have you pulled in a man exactly like your father? And maybe you didn't realize you were doing this until you broke up with him, but we do this. We pull in the exact parental figure that we had that is our chosen preference. We pull in that figure, that same lesson, that same exact picture. Whether we know it or not, we're choosing the same flavor over and over and over again. It just looks a little different. And that's because we're not necessarily choosing it. Our soul chose this lesson. So we are subconsciously picking this mirror to us what we need to learn. And so this is where soulmates can be really tough, because a soulmate can come into our lives, one that is like this deep. I experienced this myself, and so I understand what this feels like. A soulmate who comes in, it feels like such an intense, incredible love and that you're supposed to be with them forever. But this love is lopsided. They feel this connection too. They know it's a forever connection. They know that there's something there that is beyond what's normally there. Yet it's not quite it. It's not quite it for the one. And in that sense, that one who it's not it for is going to leave that relationship, leaving the one who it is it for distraught, heartbroken, feeling so unloved and so unworthy of love. Now, this is one of the most beautiful opportunities that I have ever been given in my entire life, was to feel this way, to be in a relationship like this, and then to feel completely distraught after it was over. Because this specific relationship is what taught me, wait, I knew from the beginning that my love wasn't being equaled. And why did I allow it to continue? Why did I try to manipulate it so I could gain more love out of this person? Looking back, I can see that I did those things. Maybe you're in a relationship right now where the love isn't quite reciprocated in the way that you would like it to be.
Before we continue on with today's episode, for those of you interested in getting more fantastic fungi in your life, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about a friend of mine's brand new company, The Great Mother. Recently, I have been drinking The Great Mother's superfood mushroom coffee alternative called Ritual, as well as regularly taking their awesome Ally microdoses, and I am truly loving both. As you probably know, these days, many of the world's highest achievers and performers swear by microdosing. The problem is it can still be difficult to get a hold of magic mushrooms. That's why when my friend reached out, who lives in an area and country where legalization is not a problem like it was in the past, and said he'd be willing to offer microdoses to my listeners, I wanted to pass the word along. Ally microdoses are 100% organic And in addition to a small amount of the magic active ingredient, they also contain functional mushrooms like lion's mane, cordyceps, chaga, and other brain boosters like bacopa. Ally is essentially a full spectrum nootropic. And of course, the coffee alternative Ritual doesn't contain magic mushrooms, but it has an array of the best organic functional mushrooms in the world. And, with functional mushrooms, it's really important to get them from the highest integrity sources. And whereas some other highly popular mushroom coffee alternatives on the market only contain a few varieties of functional mushrooms in their actual ingredients, Ritual has 7. Not only does it contain more types, it also contains 3 to 4 times the amount that the big brands have in each serving, and it tastes amazing. I actually like to have it on its own as well as mixing it into my coffee sometimes as well. However, since this is definitely a unique offering, there are a few steps. First, just reach out and request to follow the private page, thegreat.mother on Instagram. Once you've been accepted to follow, just message what you're interested in getting and someone will get back to you.
And maybe there's little ways that you're doing little manipulations, trying to get that person to love you more. Maybe you're doing their laundry. Maybe you're cooking extra meals. Maybe you're buying them things. Whatever it may be, there are little things that we do, and I call them manipulations because we're doing it because we want them to love us more. And there is nothing that we can do to make another person feel any kind of way about us. Another person is going to feel how they feel. We're going to feel how we're going to feel, right? Can anyone make you feel anything, no matter what? So there is not a thing that we can do in our relationships to manipulate. We can momentarily, but it never seems to work out because we all desire to be in our own feelings, in our own sovereignty, and to follow that. And so when it doesn't work out for one of these soulmates, the other, well, they both get to learn a beautiful, beautiful lesson. And when we can look at it like this, that, wow, what a great opportunity to stand in my own sovereignty, to see where my boundaries are, to see my own value, my own worth, to be able to recognize this from the beginning when things aren't quite right. These lessons are there from the beginning, and we sometimes just refuse to see them, and that's okay. Now, when we're in the space where we are alone and we are seeking a relationship, I have seen so many different patterns where sometimes people have been dating for so long they get discouraged and it's never going to work out, so I'm not going to do it anymore, and so they're alone. And then there's another subset of people who say, I think I'm just going to spend some time to myself because I really want to know who I am. I want to learn about me. I want to feel safe in my own self. I want to know who I am so that then I can pull in a person who I vibrate with. Maybe I spend a lot of time learning to love myself so that I then pull in someone who loves me in reciprocation. Because we can only pull in what we match, what we vibrate to, what lesson we are ready for next. Because even when we are centered in ourselves, when we have our boundaries, when we're content on our own, we are practicing loving ourselves and all the different self-care practices, and we pull in a mate at that point. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy as pie. Relationships aren't easy because they're here to teach us. They're here to essentially, a lot of times, trigger us. And we don't need to always be triggered, but that's what it feels like in the beginning. And when we can learn to recognize where these triggers are and learn to recognize them as lessons, opportunities, ways to grow, then these relationships that we are in can serve as immense growing opportunities as well. And so they're never easy because we're always growing, always changing, always having another to maybe compromise with, having to always consider another person's thoughts, feelings, and emotions when you're in a relationship. So when you think about the idea of spending that quiet time alone and being in your center and how lovely that space can be, this is the place that I would like for everyone who is looking for a relationship to get themselves within. That place of I love being with me. I enjoy being with myself. And the person who I'm going to pull into my life is going to love me as much as I love me. This is the most beautiful place to be in order to pull in that relationship that we really desire. And what's beautiful about being in this place of solitude and sovereignty is that we can surrender. When we actually surrender and let it go and don't feel the need for it, when we're needing something to be there, when is this person coming into my life? It's kind of going to stay out there, won't it? Because the need for it is too strong. It's out of balance and out of whack. And so it will stay. We will continue to push people away because of that need. So I am reminding everyone today to turn that inward on ourselves. This need for yourself to do self-care, this need for yourself to have quiet time for yourself, this need for yourself to understand and know yourself better so that you can bring in the loving relationship that you desire. Relationships, again, are our most fabulous teachers. And they can also be the trickiest things, the things that screw with our brains and our emotions the most. And so many of us can allow ourselves to get into these dark holes about these relationships, needing to know about the future. Maybe even holding ourselves back, holding on to an old relationship, a relationship that didn't work out in hopes that maybe one day it will. I am guilty of that myself. I know how that feels. And looking back on my life, I say, you wasted a little bit of time there. There's really no such thing. But in hindsight, if I knew then what I knew now, right? It is never, never worth it to hold yourself back for anyone, any reason, ever. It is so important for each and every one of us to shine our light, to be in our own passion, our own love, our own self each and every day, loving ourselves, loving these aspects of who we are. And if we're not taking that time to understand who we are and really look at who we are, then we kind of just grope around. And if we really want to pull in the magic, we got to spend the time within. It is the only place to go. Remember that if we're looking for something outside of ourselves, the only way to create that is within ourselves. We will continue to pull in these outside experiences until we do balance these things within ourselves, have these understandings, and show ourselves love. Understanding that we are part of this oneness, this incredible unity. The more we remind ourselves of that, see it out around us everywhere, knowing that every single being here existing on this planet is part of this unity, and that there's not a single one of us who is better than or less than another. We are all worthy and deserving of love. And if you had parents that you came in with who didn't show you this love, it was only to teach you the opposite, that you are loved, that you are worthy. I laugh because it kind of blows my mind that we come in and do this opposite game because it really screws us up. It messes with our minds. We think we have a parent that doesn't love us. Well, then we're unlovable. And that's not true. That parent is our greatest teacher. That parent is showing us to stand up and see our own value, our own worth, stand in our strength, light that fire within ourselves, find it within. There is no one outside of you that is going to show you enough love to make you feel the way that you really want to feel. The way you really want to feel is finding this within. This beautiful, shiny sun, this loving light that is you, that exists within you always. When you can look within and see it and you can feel it, that is true happiness. And that is what we're all looking for. So we don't find it out there. We will never find it out there, especially if we're looking for a love relationship to give it to us. We only find that within. And if we really want that love relationship, we have to go within and have that relationship with ourselves. So my little reminder for today is to love yourself. Love yourself in so many ways. Show yourself kindness and respect and compassion, empathy, gratitude, all of the things. Show them to yourself. You show them to others. Now show them to yourself. Remind yourself every single day to do it more and more. I think that's it for me today, everyone. I'm going to leave you with this song by Trevor Hall called Good Rain. Until next time, I love you all.
If there's a hole in your soul, you gotta fill it. If your cup is overflowing, don't spill it. You better hold it while the whole world's spinning around. And when your eyes look down on another, just remember that he's your own brother. This kind of love ain't gonna go under. I've found that when you love one another, only good rain comes down. And if you feel like you stopped learning, if the wood in your fire ain't burning, better spark another match, start turning your wheel. Better turn it towards righteous living. Stop taking and start your giving. Yeah, this is the one thing missing, I feel. That loving one another is the only thing real. Don't let your blessings turn into stone. That kind of living will leave you all alone. If there's a hole in your soul, you gotta fill it. And if your cup is overflowing, don't spill it. You better hold it while the whole world's spinning around. Turn into stone. That kind of living will leave you all alone. And when your heart is troubled by feeling, yeah, remember there's a way to spark healing. Yeah, the first step is when you start believing it's real. Yeah, this is the one thing missing, I feel. Yeah. That loving one another is the